I can show you better than I can tell you. Have you heard that advice? My grandmother would say it all the time to me. It wasn't really advice, it was more of a cliche. But she would say it in reference to her killer sweet potato pies. No one would believe that Dorothy May could whip up some killer sweet potato pies, but she knew that if she showed people, that would shut them down. They would have nothing to say. And yeah, she was talking about her baking, but she accidentally gave me the best career advice ever. And today I'm responding to Jenny Clark's video about career advice that changed her life. And I think there's a little more nutmeg we can add to that conversation. She talked a lot about telling people where you want to go, which it kind of leads into that corporate cliche that I want us to unlearn. It's that you need to communicate your career goals clearly and frequently to get ahead. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, you do need to communicate them and frequently, but I want you to remember that your actions speak louder than your career conversations ever will. Mel Robbins talks about the visibility trap, right? And it's the difference between being seen and being heard. And when you constantly talk about where you want to go, it's like you're asking people to imagine your potential. How many people have a great imagination? Not many, especially I worked in corporate finance. There was no imagination. The revenue minus the expenses needs to equal the profit. We don't want any imagination. We don't want any creativity here. And when you show up differently, you're giving other people evidence of your evolution. Now, when I say evidence of evolution, we could look at that three different ways. One is I have been working in this role or at this job for 10 years. I know there's more to life in this, and I'm tired of working late. You complain to your coworkers, I'm tired of working late. You say to your boss, I don't want to work late. But what if we shift the way that we communicate our workload? We shift the way that we show up. We communicate our workload, we communicate our pipeline, we communicate, the bottlenecks, and we're very clear on priorities. These four things are a priority, but my bandwidth and time limitations will only allow for one. So which one should I prioritize? Yes, I agree with that one. These are the three bottlenecks I expect to see. Let me get back to you on that, or perhaps we could push back our timeline by a day or two to account for these bottlenecks that we talked about. The other evidence of evolution is investing in yourself. If you want to pivot from marketing to sales, from finance to HR, find a conference that's in that industry that you just want to attend for fun, or that look for one that's in your area so that way you're not spending a lot of money. But I want you to get immersed in that role. Use the words, the terms that are prevalent or constantly used in that industry so that way your mind can show up that way and begin to think that way. So again, you are showing up in the way that you want to evolve. And it will be evidenced in the way that you act, the way that you carry yourself. Now, when we talk about a visibility trap, the first thing I thought about? That green light that's always on Microsoft Teams or on Slack. It haunts me at times because I want it to always be on. I want it to always be green because people know I'm doing my work. I'm not goofing off. But let me tell you, if you're always on, if you're always picking up projects that people left undone, and I don't mean people don't finish projects, everyone around us is competent. But sometimes when we're working with more junior people to the team, junior people to the role, junior people to the company, that connective tissue isn't there, right? They finish their project and they hand it to you. But sometimes they don't think through the next step. Okay, you presented this number, but Bill presented a completely different number. So how do we talk to management about this? How do we put this together in a cohesive bullet for this presentation that we're giving to leadership? Like asking those questions. Because if you are doing the work behind the scenes and getting that title, oh, you're the glue. If it wasn't for you, this presentation wouldn't have made it. Or thank you so much for making sure that this was seamless. That's how you're always going to be seen. You will always be seen as that person in that role. And if you want to do something different, you got to show up different. You got to be different. And that was me. I was always sitting around asking for permission. Hey, is it okay if I go? Is it okay if my coworkers were long gone? Let's talk about another way to unpack that cliche that I'm talking about. I can show you better than I can tell you. Is there's like this leadership assumption gap. And it's the difference between saying, I want to be strategic and showing up to meetings with strategic questions. And I just talked about it recently, but people promote the person who's already operating at the next level, not the one who's promising that they could. So let me give you an example. As an analyst, a financial analyst, you're putting together the P&L, right? You're making sure everything ticks and ties out. You're going straight down. You're starting from revenue. You see any expenses, okay? All of those lines you're looking at, boom, boom, boom. Like as you're putting that together, let's think about risk and opportunities that you can communicate to leadership or even risk and opportunities you can ask your friend who works in marketing, like, hey, I saw that your division, if you can, because some things are confidential, but you could ask, like, hey, how did your division do this, this quarter on that new product? Oh, and then ask them, hey, tell me about some market insights. Really? You think that flavor is going to sell well? Or what about these things I'm seeing in the market? But it's not just putting that together as an analyst, but it's getting connective pieces from the world around you to give you a view as a whole person or a good candidate for the next role. And that is being strategic instead of just being tactical. I also want to caution you. Don't, don't hurt the messenger. But I want to caution you about getting a rise out of all of these meetings and projects that you are a part of. It's awesome to do that and to have your calendar being stacked, but I also want you to prioritize taking a break or putting a break, being strategic to block out your lunch hour in purple. For those of you who use Outlook, purple means I'm out of the office. So that way you give yourself space outside of your screen, outside of back-to-back meetings and bio breaks, because sometimes that's all you have for a 4-hour sprint, to get out of the weeds and step into yourself, give yourself space to be more creative. Now, think about it. How do leaders show up? Leaders, VPs, they take golf breaks. They handle business on the golf course because they know that being away from the office sparks so much creativity in different ways. And so I want to challenge you to practice your next level leadership in low stakes situations. So let's just say if you're a VP, like communicate like an executive would, if that's what you want to be next. Like create space in your schedule like a senior leader would. Let people witness the transformation. Don't just narrate it, right? And boundaries don't have to be loud and proud. No, boundaries can be quiet promises that you keep to yourselves, right? Think about it. Like today, I'm not going to eat lunch at my desk. I'm going to eat lunch away from my desk. Or I am going to make time for a screen-free break. Yeah, I'm actually going to take the long way around to get to the restroom, the long way around to get to the water cooler. I'm going to actually walk to my mailbox between meetings so that way I can give myself space to be creative. I can give myself space to break that stress cycle because that's what happens when we burn out is we're doing things consistently that aren't aligned to our core values, and maybe for you that's sitting at a desk all day, not aligned to your core values, and you aren't giving yourself breaks. You just keep going and keep going and keep going. So your body operates in this stress mode, and because it's used to doing that, that becomes your norm. Growth requires space, not just grind. Often, high performers need time to think, not just time to do. And when you're always executing someone else's vision, you never develop your own strategic thinking. You need to create space to innovate and not just operate. So let me ask you, because that's what we do here. I ask you questions, you think about them, because you don't want to burn out and you want to lead yourself differently. When was the last time you closed your laptop and just thought? Just like no spreadsheets, no Slack messages, no quick favors. Honestly, like if I looked at your calendar right now, would I see any white space where your ideas get to breathe? Or is it just all execution of other people's priorities and squeezing some bio breaks in between? White space, planned breaks. It's doable. I want you to think about it. People who protect their mental bandwidth for creativity are 40% more innovative than those who stay in constant execution mode. I got that one from Laurie Santos. And I want you to realize that your next promotion, it isn't hiding in your current workload. It's hiding in the space you create outside of it. Woo! Think about that. Like, how do you protect your mental bandwidth? Do you just block and unsubscribe, or are you intentional? Like, put some things in the comments. Like, is there one meeting or one reoccurring task you could cut that would give you back just 1 hour a week? Or, like, if you had an hour, how would you spend it? And I'm thinking about my calendar. And I hate to admit this, but I love to stay up late. I don't know. I would say like around 9 p.m. I just get like a burst of energy. And what do I do with that energy? I open up my email. I crank through some things that I've been delaying during the week. But instead of doing that, what if I use that hour to go to bed early or go to bed consistently at the same time? That would definitely energize me, help me wake up refreshed, give me space to actually recharge from the day. Stop trying to prove yourself through volume. I want you to start proving yourself through insight. I want you to take on projects that stretch your strategic thinking and not just your capacity to execute. So, like leading yourself differently, it means creating non negotiable time for strategic thinking, learning, and developing like your own unique perspective. And that isn't selfish. Let me tell you, that is strategic. The company that I worked for 10 years, it grew 1 year, it grew 3x in 24 months. And that was exciting. And me and my teammates, let me tell you, it was a bad idea at the time, but we decided, hey, this summer season, let's all push back our vacations. We're going to crank through these deliverables. We're going to fulfill the vision that leadership has for us to be two newly merged companies and get all of these blueprints put together so that way the company can move forward before quarter end. And we did it. We pushed through, we encouraged each other. But that was silly because we set the expectation that we could handle such a tight timeline, and that became the norm. So then in the fall, because we delayed our vacations in the fall, what did we get? We got more unrealistic expectations, and we're looking around like, this isn't going to work, right? So that's why I'm telling you, setting aside non-negotiable time to think strategically. Perhaps in the middle of those mergers, I could have thought to myself, hey, is this what I really want to do? Do I really want to rewrite the price list for the third time? Is this where I see myself the next 24 months? Oh yeah, I really want to do sales. Maybe I have a friend who is in sales who left the company 2 years ago. Let me call them up and just pick their brain on how sales works and how I can start showing up as that sales representative versus being stuck in this world of finance. So again, I just want to ask you, like, if I took away half of your workload tomorrow, would you know exactly where to focus so that your value increased? Or okay, sure, you don't know. Or have you tied your worth so much to what you can crank out in a day that you wouldn't even know what to do with an extra half day if you got it? Because that's the funny thing. Everyone says, I wish I could have 2 more hours or 3 more hours in the day. There aren't enough hours in the day. But what would you do with that time? Would you continue to give it back to the company? Or would you invest in yourself? When was the last, not when, but where was the last place you stretched yourself and your strategic thinking instead of just stretching your capacity to execute? I want us to pursue growth opportunities outside of your immediate job function. Yeah, you could do cross-functional projects, you could seek mentors in other departments, or you could shadow friends in a different group. Like if you're in finance, see if you can hop on a sales call. Develop skills that complement but don't duplicate your current expertise because your next role wants evidence of that expanded thinking, not just deeper expertise. And to be honest, that's where I messed up. I thought doubling down on being the expert in pricing and the price list would make me the expert. Hey, you got any pricing questions? Come to Sophia. But when that merger happened and the company grew, I was the only person with that knowledge, that skill set to sit in on those committees, to be around if people had questions, to get that customer pricing done timely so that way we can make our quarter deadlines. I mean, it made me indispensable, which was awesome, but can I have some time for a vacation? Can I have time to eat like outside of my desk? Like, how about this? Can I go on vacation without having to periodically check emails or periodically check in? My grandmother was right. Showing beats telling every single time. And while everyone else is having career conversations, you're going to have a career transformation. Because the best leaders don't announce their arrival, they embody their evolution. And that evolution, it starts with how you lead yourself starting today. And if you're ready to stop talking about where you want to go and start showing up as that leader that you're becoming, I've created something special. It's called my Power Without Burnout masterclass. And in that class, we map out exactly how to lead yourself so powerfully that everything around you shifts. Your boundaries, your career, your presence. The link is in the descriptions. Let's show them what's possible. Did you subscribe? Come on, you like hearing about leadership. You like hearing about leading yourself differently. Subscribe so I can create more of these. Subscribe.